Well, hello. Welcome to Suburban Homesteader, Wyoming, Arizona. This is Sandi, and it is my regular Wednesday Night Live. Now, usually on a Wednesday Night Live, I have a topic, but I thought it might be kind of fun to do a question and answers. I have been a master gardener for, I think it's going on 18 years, and I've gardened for 20 some years before then. And there is Angie. Hey, Ange, how are ya? Cora popped in earlier. She'll probably pop back in. I hope you guys are having a great day. But I thought it would be kind of fun if we did questions and answers. And if you write a question and I can't answer it, you could win a prize. So I thought it might be kind of fun. And Anne from Little Frenchie in Big Texas, good evening. Hello. BP, how are ya? I hope California is treating you well. And Julie is here. Hello. Yay. People just popping in. That's always so much fun. Now, as a master gardener, I'm the president of our county this year. Actually, I'm the president of the state of Wyoming Master Gardeners this year too. But during our meetings, I always have a question at the beginning of our meetings, and it always has to do with gardening. So my last one was, what is the most popular question that master gardeners get asked? And it kind of surprised me. I mean, I know that people do ask this. The most popular question in the United States that they ask master gardeners is, how do I plant this plant? And I thought that was interesting. And Wendy is here. Wendy, last night we were supposed to do our Hey Y'all Hey, and two of the panelists, one Monica had hurt her back, and it was just really sore yesterday. And then Casey is just having these horrible allergies. And so they just ran a rerun last night instead of doing our regular. But that's usually Tuesday night at, it must be 6:30, 7 o'clock Central Time. And Tony is here. Hello. Is spiced rum vanilla extract better than Everclear vanilla extract? I guess that would depend. I like when I did spiced rum vanilla and regular vanilla, I liked the regular vanilla better, but Joe liked the spiced rum. I think it's really a matter of what you like. And there might be a few of them that have in the chat that have made Everclear vanilla extract. I usually use vodka. That might pop in and just say something. Oh, Road Through the Earthquakes. Oh, wow. How do you get rid of mint without tearing out everything else in your bed? Well, that's a difficult thing to do. Mint is very aggressive, and underneath the soil, it just sends all these different roots. And honestly, there isn't a way to get rid of it. I suggest usually if you want to plant mint in the ground and you don't want it to spread, you need to plant it in a big black pot that you've cut out the bottom, and a fairly tall one, and you'll just set it in there. And the roots like to spread laterally. They won't go that deep. So if you have a pot that's, say 10, 12 inches deep, that mint will stay contained. So you don't have to, you just don't have to worry about that. Okay. And Ginger is here. Okay, I'm ready, Sandi. Oh, questions. Yay. And it's a spiced rum. I might not have let it set long enough to infuse with the vanilla. Sometimes it just takes a while. I like to do my vanilla slow anyway. But depending on where you got the vanilla beans and the size of the vanilla beans, it makes a whole different thing. So, Wendy says, a friend is wanting some tomato plants. Are they going to plant them from seed or seedlings? BP is right. Mint is like Bermuda grass. It just goes all over the place. In fact, I was digging up grass today that they have this weird grass down here in Arizona, and it comes up, but then it spreads laterally on top of the soil, and at these nodes, it makes roots. And so it's just a constant pulling out. I mean, some people just mow it. They keep it as their grass and they just mow it, which it does look very green and it's very durable. I just don't want it around my fruit trees. So I was pulling it around one of my fruit trees. And Rudy is in here. Hello, Rudy. I must be missing what Tony is saying. Angie says, our mint was planted in the ground and we had it spread from the front yard to the backyard. It does smell really good when you mow. That is true. Tony, we thought about that last fall and we came down with that intention. But when we got down here, we just decided we just weren't really ready to do that yet. So if I miss a question in the chat, just type it again, okay? So Rudy, you got to keep on topic or otherwise I have to put you in time out, okay? So with my original question, how do I plant this plant? Across the United States, that's the most asked question ever to master gardeners. And that really got me thinking about, there's probably a lot of people that have questions on gardening. And so hence tonight's topic, question and answers. If you can ask me a question and I don't have the answer for it, I have some prizes that you could win. So I just thought that would be interesting. Oh, update. I know some of you guys have asked me about my dad. And he got his report from the surgeon. And the surgeon is not worried. He says that it's something that they can wait till the fall when my mom and dad get back down here to do the surgery. So he is free to go home. So we are going home this weekend. Woo, woo, woo. I think we'll leave Saturday. And we're going to drive along with my parents just because. You know, usually they drive, we drive, and they go a little bit different route than we do. But we're going to go the same route. So, okay, here's Ginger. I have some persimmon seeds dried from the tree in a friend's yard. What is the proper way to plant to get a tree myself? This is what I would do. Okay. Right now, I wouldn't wait till later. I would save part of your persimmon seeds. I'm assuming that you have multiple ones since you wrote seeds. Say half of them. I want you to put them in a jar or a bowl, and I want you to soak them for 24 hours. And I know some seeds you only have to soak overnight, but with a persimmon seed and some seeds like that, I would soak it overnight. Then, after 24 hours, I would plant them in pots inside at first. They won't need any light at first, but when they start to emerge, they will need light. So either you're going to have one or two things. Either you're going to have to put them under lights if you're growing other seedlings, or you can put them out in the daytime. Make sure when those little seedlings are coming up that you are have it kind of filtered sun at first. You don't want to burn them if the sun's too hot. So you could use lattice, shade cloth, something that it's still getting light, but it's okay. It's filtered. Because one of the hardest things when you start to harden your plants off, trees or herbs, vegetables, flowers, is that people put them outside thinking that they want to get them hardened off very fast, and it's just too intense. And so if you can do it a little bit slower, you know, the first day they're out there for an hour. Then they're out there for a couple hours. Get them so that they're getting stronger. When you bring them back in after they've been out for that little bit, either if you don't have lights, Ginger, just put them in a sunny window. Even with the sunny window, though, be careful that it's not too intense, too hot, and because you don't want those little seedlings to die. But it should be pretty easy. I have done lots of fruit trees like that, and it has been very successful. Now, a lot of fruit trees, sometimes you're surprised at an apple and all of a sudden it comes up very fast. But for the most part, it takes a while before they ever break through and emerge up into so that you can see them above the soil. Okay, so I hope that answers your question. And look who's here. Jennifer Ocean Homestead. Let me just show you these. I got my seeds from Jennifer, and I am planting them as soon as I get back. I have this whole bundle of seeds to plant when I get back. So I'm very excited about that. I think I might even plant them in a seed snail. And then I can just, I have a short that came out today all about seed snails. And Around the Hay Bale has that as a topic. So you'll have to keep an eye on that too. So it's very exciting. Oh, and you see that she is suggesting Zucca melons. Now, Jennifer, is that in the chat, describe that melon for us? That's very exciting. Zucca. I haven't raised a Zucca melon. I'm gonna have to look that up. Ginger asks, I do have a grow light that has arms and red, blue, and combination light. Should I put them under that? That would be perfect. Now remember, when they first are coming out, you want to keep that light about 3 or 4 inches away. And as it starts to grow higher, you'll just move that light above. Because a lot of those small grow lights, they don't have a lot of intense color, the wavelength of the light. And so you want to keep it about 3 to 4 inches above that. But then take your time and start putting it outside, and you let it get used to being outside. Now the other half of those seeds, soak just the same, but plant them right into the ground. Just put them in like a raised bed or a special little bed that you stake off, so that that's where those are, because you can always transplant them later, and that way you can baby them along a little bit. So if you have questions, just type them in the chat tonight. We are going home. If you guys have just popped in, my dad, the doctor says my dad is okay to travel. And so we are on our way home this weekend. And so I'm kind of in a flux position because I have plants started different places. And so I have to get some boxes that I can just set all of those in there. And I'm torn between, I have some small tomato plants they just came up from seeds from last year. Now I have some big ones that I'm actually getting red tomatoes from that were volunteers. But now I have all these little short ones. They're short and stocky in other parts of my garden. And it's like, do I bring those home, or do I just give them away to somebody that's going to stay here the whole time? I'm questioning what to do, because we always have stuff that we bring back and forth. And okay, so Tony says, have you sorted out a few scored communities yet? I said I'd sort it, message you. Do you have the publicity available email I can contact you on? Let me do this, Tony. This is probably the best email right now to send anything. And I think you already have that one. So just send that to me. Okay, let me pop back over. Oh, Discord. I don't know if I have, when I first started YouTube, I did sign up for Discord. I'm going to have to look that up and see if I still have that. Okay. I'll let you know about that. After supper tonight, I'll look that up and see if I still have that. I suppose I do. I think you probably don't lose it if you don't use it. I'm not really sure. And look who's here. Nancy is here. Hello, Nancy. Nancy tonight is Ask Me a Question About Gardening. And if you can stump me, if I don't have an answer for you, I have some little prizes to give away. So I just thought it would be kind of fun. And Dorothy is here too. Hello, Dorothy. It's question and answer night tonight. So see if you can stump me. See if you can ask me a question. I don't have any idea, because I'll tell you if I don't have any idea, And then I'll get those sent out before we go back to Wyoming this weekend. So I'm totally excited about that. I just have so many things to do, And I'm in 2 art shows besides starting garden stuff. And I got an email today that our onion plants were in, because a lot of us in Wyoming, we grow long day onions. Now there's long day onions, midday onions, and short day onions. And depending on where you live in the United States, if you want really successful onions, that's the way to go. Yeah, and most of the time you buy them as live plants. Now there are certain varieties that cross over, like the Alicia onions will basically cross over, and you can plant them from Texas all the way up to North Dakota, and they will give you large, beautiful onions. My 2 favorite long day onions are Highland, and that's a tough one, because there's a few of them I really like, but I always buy Highland, and Sterling's probably my other ones. Those are very white, where Highlands are yellow onion. So we buy them from a place in Texas. It's called Dixondale Farms, and they grow all 3 of them. And so when you get them in this bundle of about 75 onions, all of that variety. And the more people that buy it, the cheaper the bundles get. And so it ends up that we get these bundles of like 75, well, they say usually 60 to 75, but it's always about 75 onions for around $4. It's a great deal when you have a bunch of people that want to grow onions. But I got an email today saying that the onions got to the extension office today. So I don't want them staying very long there. Sometimes they'll put it in the crisper for me, even though they recommend not put it in the refrigerator. But depending on when I'm coming back from Arizona, sometimes they have done that for me. They wrap dry paper towels around it because they don't want it to get soggy or yucky. But they have been great onions for us. Looky here. It's Jessie and Lisa. Hello. Nancy says, have you grown bok choy, and what is a good companion plant to them? Well, bok choy is a type of brassica. So it is in the same family as cabbage, broccolis, kales, kohlrabis. So anything that you would plant next to them will work. In fact, I have bok choy growing in my garden right now. It was volunteers from last year. Because what happens when I leave is, even though we have a water system for our trees, it doesn't water my garden. So I usually just pull things up. Well, if there's seeds in a plant or that I pulled up, or there's just seeds in the soil still, you get volunteers once you start watering again. And so I probably have 10 bok choy plants back there that I never planted this year. It's just from seeds from last year. I plant them, honestly, Nancy, I have planted them by my peppers. I've planted by my tomatoes, by my onions. I've planted them by other brassicas, cabbages and broccolis, and they have grown wonderfully every place I've planted them. What I like to do is, my pathways, I like to plant petunias, and then I like to plant bok choys right next to it. And then I like to plant Chinese cabbages right next to it because it looks very beautiful. It's got different colors than the Chinese cabbage, you know, because it's got the really light part and the darker part on the bottom. And I just really like it. Jennifer says, I never grew citrus plants. I'm having seeds mailed to me of lemon, orange, grapefruit trees. What should I know about growing them? Okay. One, you need to soak them before you plant them. Otherwise, they take a much longer to germinate, to grow. Some people will take a sandpaper and kind of rub it, or they'll take a nail clipper or a knife and just clip an end of it. I just like to soak them. But they do take a while. It'll take a few weeks before they start to break that soil. So don't give up on them. Just keep them moist, but not soggy. And pretty soon here they come, and they will start growing for you. I have some little lemon trees in the backyard in my garden, which I'm going to have to give away because those ones are not in a water system, or I have to dig them up and bring them home, which I could do. So, but just be patient with them. And it does take longer to get a lemon or orange or grapefruit from a seed than it does if you buy a small plant. Just know that. But it is well worth growing them. And they will overwinter in your greenhouse as long as your temperatures don't dip really below about 41 degrees. Not that they can't survive above freezing, you know, in that 30s, high 30s. They can, but it can be very difficult for them. So just be careful with that. Okay. Off-Grid World is here. Hello. How are you? Jennifer, will a wet paper towel method work? You know, I have found, not that I haven't tried it with a wet paper towel, but what I've found by using a wet paper towel, especially if you then put them in the refrigerator, you know, like in a Ziploc bag, because a lot of people will do that, it's very easy to mold. If you're going to use the wet paper towel, I would just put the wet paper towel and set the seeds on top, you know, in a container, and then put saran wrap over the top of the container. It doesn't seem to mold then. But really soaking them for 24 hours, I have found much more successful. BP says, do you have a blood orange tree in Yuma? I do. In fact, I made blood orange marmalade this year. My first try at that. I've made marmalade before, but not blood orange. And my friend Mary, who has a huge blood orange tree, did that for me, gave me the recipe, and so I made it for her, and I like it. Now, marmalade is not the same as jam or jelly, and I think sometimes people expect it to taste like a jam or jelly, but it has a little bit more of it has a sweetness, but it has kind of a little bitterness because you're using that outside zest and that rind, and so it's a little bit interesting. I like it though. Angie says, I always do the paper towel in a Ziploc bag method. I hang them in my refrigerator and have never got mold. See, that's good. I have gotten mold before, so I just have changed the way I do that. With variety. I must have missed something. Okay. Giving away lemon trees. I wish you would send it across the border. I don't think they'll let me do that. Fruit trees are about $80 to $180 here for little trees. Interesting. There are some people that actually grow lemons on Vancouver Island in Canada. And you might check out for nurseries that are on Vancouver Island and see if you can get them at a better price. Even with the shipping, you might be surprised and get them at a better price. There's documentaries about growing lemons in Vancouver Island in British Columbia. And it's really interesting, and I found it very fascinating. U.S. Freedom 5. Awesome. Jennifer says, I always leave the bags out. I get peppers and lavender to germinate in a week. Awesome. I just made 4 seed snails today because we're going to talk about them in our round of hay bale. And I have a lemon one growing, but they just take a long time. And so I wanted something that was a little bit faster, so I did things that grew fast. BP wants to know, what blood orange variety do I have? That I can't tell you. When I bought it, it just said, I got it from the nursery, and it just said blood orange. It didn't give me a separate variety, but it is so amazing. Now, my friend Mary, who has the great big tree, she told me a few years ago, she goes, people will be tempted to eat those blood oranges in January and in February. But she says, you just wait until March, towards the end of March, and those oranges will be to die for. And she was completely correct. They were so dark red. The juice was phenomenal. And it almost had kind of a cherry taste besides an orange taste to it. It was fabulous. Oh, it's the entire live. So if you have a question that you would like to stump me with, you can win a prize. So Jennifer says, there's a guy who grows banana trees in Saskatchewan. I'm from Grow Zone 7 in Ontario. Before I moved here, people grew lemons in greenhouses, but it's zone 4 here. Well, Jennifer, do you heat your greenhouse at all? Because that can make a difference. If your greenhouse is somewhat in the ground, that can make a difference. There's a lot of people I know that grow citrus in Wyoming that have geothermal greenhouses. And so that's interesting. Oh, BP thinks it's a mower. That's interesting. Yeah, see, it on the tag. In fact, I bought another one this year, so I am going to have 2 blood oranges. And it said exactly the same thing. It just said, and I got it from the nursery, it just said blood orange. It did not give me a different variety of blood orange. Dorothy says, my internet has been skipping, so I came back inside. I bet you can guess. What is my floral middle name? Oh, see that. I don't know if that's a garden question. Okay, so Dorothy. How about Violet? See, let me know. You guys guess what Dorothy's middle name. It is a floral middle name, so it could be Violet. It could be Rose, Dorothy Rose. That could work. I'll see. Julie's guessing Rose. Tefek's greenhouse isn't finished. I'm bringing the baby trees inside for the winter, hoping to have a heated geothermal greenhouse next year. Then you can definitely grow your citrus in there. There is a guy in Nebraska, and I think it's called Greenhouse in the Snow. Angie might be able to weigh into that, Greenhouse in the Snow. Oh, it is Rose. Yay! Awesome. And he has some videos out, and you can actually buy a kit from his company that he has. And he's been growing lemons and oranges in his greenhouse in Nebraska, in a part of Nebraska that just has huge storms. And I bet he's been growing them for 30 years or more. And the trees are huge and beautiful and amazing. So just because somebody tells you can't grow things, I've always believed that you could. You might have to do a little work for that, but you can do it. Oh, see, Wendy's saying, yes, greenhouse in the snow is an amazing. We have one. I bought his when he first started being a little famous. I bought his book, and it came with a CD, and it talked about all the things to do. And now he sells the kits and everything. Oh, thanks, Jesse. This is who we're talking about, greenhouse in the snow. It's very interesting. It really gives some people in those northern states some great ideas on how you can really be self-sufficient in no matter where you are. Jennifer says, I think I'm stumped with the Zenku melon. I just learned about it last year. Now, when you grew them, did you get a lot of melons off of one plant? What kind of percentage of melons to plants did you get? Keeping plants warm is easier than artificial chill hours. That is true. Wendy says, Jennifer, it's a game changer. Just got a larger one. We only got 42 feet. We split the kitchen with a family, the kit with a family. Oh, see, that's a good idea. Okay. Hi, Rebecca. Rebecca's question. What is the difference between a greenhouse and a high tunnel? Well, theoretically, a high tunnel, if it has heat, is actually considered a greenhouse because that's how they differentiate greenhouse from high tunnel. It isn't that if it has plastic, regular plastic or a hard plastic or glass, it's if you heat it. Now, what most people think of a greenhouse as more a solid structure that has more upright sides, and it has maybe a roof that has the hard plastic on it, or it has glass, where a high tunnel is usually either metal hoops or PVC pipes that are hooped over, and then the plastic is over top of it. But if you heated that high tunnel, you would be considered a greenhouse. So I think that's interesting. Oh, Angie says, reread Jennifer's post. Let me find Jennifer's post. I think I stumped you with Zuku melons. I'm not sure, because you're supposed to be asking me a garden question, but I'm okay with that. So Jennifer, I'm going to send you. These are little paper clips, but they are birds and dragonflies. So Jennifer, I'm writing your name on it. Okay, I'm okay with that. Okay, so let's scoot down farther. Okay, do you know what chadron is and what state it is considered a delicacy? Do you know what chadron is and what state it would be a delicacy? That you have stumped me. I don't know what that is. Okay, Matthew? You win one too. Awesome. But you do have to answer in there because we would like to know. My dad used to work for Riceland Foods in the greenhouse lab, counting nematodes on the roots of what plant? See, that's not really a garden question. Let me see. Riceland Foods. Nematodes. Dorothy, I don't know. Okay, I'm giving it to you guys, but you really are supposed to be asking me garden questions. Okay. And Wendy's just talking to Jennifer, and Jennifer says, I just ordered 18 starter tall blueberry plants, blueberry trees. I want to take cuttings over the years and grow free ones. I have more trees. What is the best way to take the cuttings off a blueberry tree? Well, I'm assuming that they're really blueberry bushes, but they've trimmed them to be blueberry trees. Most of the time on berry trees, it's better to take them either a green cutting early spring, and then you're going to slice it at a 45-degree angle, use some rooting powder, and then either put it in some sand or a sand soil mix. You want to keep them out of direct sun and let them root themselves. Some people will do that inside instead. If you want to take cuttings later on, like in late summer, fall time, you want to take them as hardwood cuttings, and you're going to cut it. You want to make sure that you have at least 4 nodes on there, and you're going to bury a trench, not in a greenhouse. Just bury it. Make a trench in the soil, and put 2 nodes so they're in the soil, 2 nodes that are out, and cover that trench up. By springtime, when springtime and summertime comes around, all you have to do is tug on them. And if they're hard to pull out, they've rooted themselves. I kind of like to have my hardwood cuttings someplace where it's pretty blocked from the wind. It's not too intensive sun in the wintertime, or you're going to have to make sure you really are watering them. And so if you can have them in a halfway like morning sun and that goes into shade, it's probably a better thing. Okay, so is chicken manure good to use? I think chicken manure is a great thing to use. I have made, I've done chicken manure. You do age chicken manure because it can be hot. That means that it's too powerful, strong, because it can burn little plants. So you have to be careful. So you need to age it for a year or so. After I age it, then a lot of times I'll make a manure tea. And that I just put that in like a pillowcase, an old pillowcase I'm not using. Put it in a 5-gallon bucket or a bigger bucket than that, depending on how much you put in that bag. And then I'm going to just let it steep for a few days. If you have a bubbler, like you would use in a fish tank, it can really intensify the microorganisms while it's doing that. And then I dilute it some and then I put it around my plants. So yes, I think chicken manure is very good to use. Dorothy says it was soybeans. I learned about nematodes when I was way too little. That is awesome. Okay. Hi, Glenda. How are you? What is my favorite thing to grow in Wyoming? Oh, that's hard. Well, I have a lot of apple trees. I do love apple trees. So that would be a great thing I would like to do. That I like to do. But I love, that's a hard thing. I love growing pumpkins. I love growing tomatoes. Any kind of squashes. My nemesis in Wyoming is trying to grow loofahs. People have sent me loofah seeds. I've bought loofah seeds. And I don't know what the deal is, but they start to grow and then they decide they don't want to grow anymore. And it may be because sometimes in Wyoming we have some really cold nights. And that might be the thing on why it's doing that. So I think those are probably my favorite things. Can you propagate figs off of a branch? Yes. You're going to do it. You want to take from a 1-year-old fig branch. So a branch that came out the year before. And you can If you're going to propagate it inside, I would do it at the 45-degree angle. I would take a knife and I would kind of scrape some of that bark right off that end part, dip it in rooting hormone. I would put it in a pot, put a bag, make sure that the soil is moist but not soaking. I'd put a bag over top of it, make sure 2 nodes are in the dirt, 2 nodes are out of the dirt, and it will root for you. Jennifer says that there's shortberry bushes and blueberry trees that will grow 4 to 6 feet tall. I bought the tall ones. That is awesome. Awesome. I don't want to miss anybody's. Glenda has a question too. I have a question about figs too. If you dig up a fig out of the ground, is it possible to grow it in a pot? Well, I guess I'd have to ask you some questions on when you're doing it. How big is the tree that you're doing it? How big a pot are you going to put it in? Where you live, Glenda, how cold does it get in the wintertime? Because the thing about growing trees in pots that you're going to leave outside, now if you brought it inside, it'll lose its leaves, but later on they should come back, because figs go through cycles and they'll lose their leaves and then they come back. But if it's too cold in the wintertime, even though you might continue to water that, it's just too cold for those roots. And so that's why I question if you should do it by digging up a tree. I would cut a branch and then grow it in a pot. I think you'd be better off. But it depends on the size of the tree that you're talking about. Oh, and Matthew says, figs definitely can grow in a pot. And you can get figs. It's true. Should I scrape the nodes off the bottom and put raw honey on it to help with root growth? I experimented with growing roots on a pear tree that had roots pulled off, and it grew all new roots and the leaves came. Well, I wouldn't scrape the nodes. You could scrape around it, but the nodes are where those roots are going to come from. Plants have this amazing ability that it sends signals, and if where it would have just made a leaf or a flower bud, if it needs to make roots, it sends a different signal and it will make roots there. And so that's always kind of interesting. Less gardening, more riddles than stumpers. I'm wondering, for real though, should I ever water my magnolia tree? It is homogeneous, so I don't know if that would help or hurt. Dorothy, what zone are you with your magnolia tree? And Angie's bragging. She says, I love growing loofahs. She's bragging, I tell you. Costa Online has 500 ladybugs for your garden for $25. Who would have thought? You should actually be able to get a lot more ladybugs for $25. And maybe that's, because in Canada it's more, but in the United States, I know. Like last time I got ladybugs, I think I got 1,500 or 2,000, and I know it wasn't $25. And that was just a year or two ago. So, but adding ladybugs is okay. But there's things to do when you're going to add ladybugs. First, you should, if you're going to open up the container and let the ladybugs out, you should do it at night. Where you put them, a lot of times you can make like a little triangle with brush, little twigs, and release them inside there. Have a little bit of water, have like slices of orange, different things that the ladybugs could just refresh themselves with. If you do it at night, you're more likely that they will stay around. And if if you can put that little teepee thing any place where they're going to have good food right away, not just besides in the little teepee, but bugs that they can eat right away. Otherwise, they will fly to other places, and your neighbors will have ladybugs too. Ladybugs try to overwinter in my house. I gathered them up from the windows and put them back outside when it's active bee day. That is excellent. Frampton Gardner, hi, how are ya? Glenda has a Chicago fig. Those are very hardy figs. I'm in zone 7. It's 3 years old. The fig had to be dug up too close to a pipe. Just a little side note. A root of a plant will not go through a pipe. It won't go through your concrete. The only way it will go is if it just accidentally bumps into it and you have a crack or a hole or something in that pipe or your foundation. But sometimes people think that roots are seeking out. They don't have a brain like that. They bump into stuff. And if, say, your septic tank is an old septic tank and there's cracks and there are things like that, the roots will go through that. But it's not like us and we go, oh, there's water over there, I'm going to send my roots over there. That's not the way it works. But at 3 years old, I would think that you could keep it in a pot, a large pot, for a long time. Now, especially when you're zone 7A, I think you'll be fine. You know, we are much colder in Wyoming. So all of my citrus that I used to have in Wyoming, Joe would bring out in the springtime. He'd take it back in the house in the wintertime. But that would be perfect. Not a lot of figs and can quickly put growth in a pot, even sending taproot through the bottom of the pot. Bite the squirrels. That's true. I have 2 figs here in Arizona. And I got both of them from my brother. And the first one I planted, oh gosh, I think I babied it in a pot for, I don't know, a year or so. And I brought it down here. And it couldn't have been, I don't know, 2.5 feet tall. And now it's this beautiful 8-foot tree. When we come down in October, November, it's filled with figs. Then in the wintertime, here it loses its leaves. And now it's all bushed out with leaves again. And so some figs, you can get figs twice a year. And my other one, a littler one, I planted this little tiny thing. Now it's kind of bushed out and it's probably 2 feet tall. So I do love figs. I don't really have a squirrel problem here. But if you have a squirrel problem, you will be fighting them. Jennifer says, out here, the Asian lady beetles are invasive and nesting in sidings and in the windows and get on the house. I wish I could get rid of them for good. That's interesting because, and it's where I live, we have, different lady beetles and ladybirds, there's a lot of different names for them. And we just love them. They eat aphids, especially when they're young, they just will devour aphids. And so we have always really liked them. Dorothy says, I think 8. I'm in the Delta southeast Arkansas. So we get really hot, humid summers. And we had almost no winter. I think I would water. Just be careful. How old is it? The magnolia tree? Have you ever, guess what do they call those? I have this thing that I can stand on and it pokes into the soil. And so it aerates it, but it's all by hand. It's not one of those machines that would rip up roots. And sometimes just doing things like that can help. Have you grown banana trees? I'm trying this year from seed and determined to make it. the likelihood that you could grow a banana from a seed is very rare. I know there's a lot of videos that say it's very easy. It's if you have the banana trees that make the great big seeds, then you can be very successful. But most bananas, ignore those videos that are on YouTube because they are just crap. I have 3 sections with bananas. When I first planted the bananas, they were just 2-foot tall bananas. Well, they have this crown and they send up these pups. And so we have gotten bananas. In fact, I got bananas out there right now. And then they just send up more around those pups. Because once that stalk, which isn't really a trunk, it's really just wrapped leaves, makes a bananas, it will die back. And so then you cut that off. But it's already started to make little pups, little trees around it. And so it's a very fun, beautiful tropical plant to grow. And I usually grow them in Wyoming too. I grow them in a great big pot. I get them in the springtime. And then I usually give them away when I go to Arizona. This year, we actually thought we were only going to be down here for, when we left in January, got down here in January, we thought we would be back March 22nd, but then my dad had some issues, and so we were not. And so I'm not really sure if that banana tree is going to be okay. What is the best fig variety to get? There's a lot of different ones. A Chicago fig is very hardy. A brown fig, there's a lot of different ones. So you'll have to do some research to really see what will work for your zone. Here think they are ladybugs, but they aren't. They have a white M, and apparently they are not good. Oh, so that's interesting that what you guys call ladybugs and lady beetles are not the same what we call them. That's interesting. Some are blue and some are red bananas. I question how they will grow. Sorry. I do. I'm sorry. It's difficult to grow a banana from seed, even with the great big seeds. It's difficult. So most bananas are propagated from the pups, the babies. I haven't been able to find yellow banana seeds yet, hoping the red and blue will germinate. Let me know how they do, okay? Get what has the best success in your area. That's true, because every area is different and every area has microclimates, because just because this section of Wyoming is considered a 4A or a 4B, your microclimate might be a little more towards a 5 or closer to a 3. And so you have to decide what you want to do with that. And that's how you become successful. When you do some research, talk to your extension office, because they are a wealth of information. Dorothy says, my magnolia is about 100 plus years old because the house is 120. And it would take 3 to 4 people to hug it. That is awesome. I would say the same thing. Dorothy, go to your extension office and have them come out and look at the tree. Because then the other thing to look at is there a magnolia society in your area? Because a lot of times when, like here we have groups that, like, we have an African Violet Society down here. We have different gardening groups down here. And they could really give you some great information about your tree. A tree that's established has seen drought before. If it isn't in distress, I bet the roots are deep enough to find water. And that could be totally true. Just remember that most trees, even when they have a big taproot, they send out a lot of roots laterally that are, sometimes they're feeder roots. And so they'll get nutrients and water. So I think you just always have to be mindful and careful and watch how your plants and your trees grow, because you want to be successful. You've nurtured those plants or those trees, and you want to be successful. I hope you plan to go way over your 30 minutes, but I appreciate you and the time you've taken to make all the videos you do. Thank you so much. That's so kind of you. Dorothy has been a member for over 15 months. And actually, I think she's been more than that, but that's what my computer is saying right now. No extension offices here. It's super country, and I haven't heard of any in Canada. Okay, do you have like a conservation district? Or do you have a weed and pest place? Because a lot of times those places will have a lot of information too. It's hard to get good information out here. You basically have to find old farmers in the area and talk to them. True. Do you have like any farmers markets that are anywhere around you? Because you might get some information from those people that do the markets too. And then, or they might be able to lead you into the right path to talk to somebody. But I'm going to have to let you go. I am way past my half hour, but I appreciate it. And I will send out, I think I have addresses for every single one that won. Awesome. Yay. But I will mail those out tomorrow. And thanks so much. Next week's topic, I will be back in Wyoming. And the topic is why you should never retire. It's not a gardening thing. Well, part of it is. But that's what we're going to talk about next week. Dorothy says, so as long as it flowers like it's supposed to, with trillion buds, it's all good. It's a gorgeous tree and just happens to be my favorite kind of tree. When I was in San Francisco, I went to a botanical garden, and they had this one section that was all magnolia trees. It was so amazing. So many different shades of colors and different sizes of the flowers. It was the most incredible part of the garden. But everybody, I'm going to let you go. And I will talk to you soon. Rebecca says, can I give you a call? I want to talk to you about something. Yes, but could you call me in the morning? Because I got to go over to my dad's house, and I have to still fix supper. And so could you just call me in the morning? That would be great, because I will be here all morning tomorrow morning. Okay? Wife said, did I win her? She's happy. Of course you did. And you also won these. Okay, everybody, I'm going to let you go. Awesome. Have a great night. Oh, if you take mine out, and out in the greeting card, it would be just one global stamp. Good to know. Okay. I will talk to you guys later. Bye, everybody. Have a great night.